All right, so we have some people still logging in. We will let people in as we continue with the presentation, and this is also recorded. So welcome everybody that is attending right now for our Peer University, our April presentation on understanding and promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. Today's presenters are myself, Daisy Carrera. I am the community liaison with District 76 at all three schools, and my colleague and friend, Miss Carly Pence, our social worker at West Oak Intermediate School. You will definitely be hearing from both of us throughout this presentation. Muchas gracias a todos por atender nuestra presentación de Universidad de Padres. El tema de hoy es comprender y promover la diversidad, la equidad y la inclusión, que es parte de nuestro iniciativo de Universidad de Padres. Mi nombre es Daisy Carrera, yo soy enlace comunitario de todo el Distrito 76. Y la otra presentadora es la señorita Carly Pence, que es nuestra trabajadora social de la Escuela Intermedia de West Oak. Some community agreements before we jump into this presentation for tonight. And these are just some reminders as we continue to engage in these conversations and throughout the presentation that you guys will be listening in on today. We ask that all of our participants be 100% present. We ask that you bring yourself to the conversation, since we all learn most effectively in spaces that welcome us, to listen deeply, suspend judgment. We will also be respecting silence. There will be a prompt or two that Ms. Pence and I will ask for our participants to engage in conversation today via the chat button, but we will also respect silence. It's not that you have to share. We ask that you speak your truth, to say what's in your heart, trusting that your voice will be heard and that your contribution will be respected. And then when things get difficult, turn to wonder. So if you find yourself disagreeing, shutting down in defense, try turning to wonder. I wonder what brought her to this space. I wonder what my reaction teaches me. I wonder what he's feeling right now. Unos acuerdos comunitarios para la presentación de hoy. Queremos que ustedes estén 100% presente, que escuchen profundamente, suspender el juicio. Todos aprendemos más cuando podemos escucharnos a todos y a nosotros mismos más plenamente. Vamos a respetar el silencio. Hay algunas veces que la señorita Pence y yo vamos a preguntarles que escriban algo en el chat para que puedan participar en la conversación, pero también vamos a respetar silencio si necesitan tiempo para pensar. Pedimos que hablen su verdad, digan lo que tengan en el corazón, en confianza, que la voz de ustedes será escuchada y su contribución respetada. Y cuando las cosas se ponen difíciles, que vuelvan a reflejar. Si se encuentran en desacuerdo, cerrándose en defensa, traten de preguntarse, me pregunto qué la trajo a este lugar, me pregunto qué me está enseñando mi reacción, y me pregunto qué siente él en este momento. So what is DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion? So our goal for today is to increase self-awareness around diversity, equity, and inclusion, engage in conversation, and support this work. These are working definitions that we're sharing with you. So diversity is the state of having people who are different races or who have different cultures in a group or in an organization. Equity is the fairness or justice in the way people are treated. And inclusion is the act or practice of including and accommodating people who have historically been excluded because of their race, age, gender, sexuality, or ability. So, ¿qué es DEI, la diversidad, equidad y inclusión? Nuestra meta de hoy para esta presentación es aumentar la conciencia sobre este trabajo, participar en las conversaciones y apoyar el trabajo de DEI. La diversidad es el estado de tener personas que son de diferentes razas o que tienen diferentes culturas en un grupo o organización. La equidad es equidad o justicia en la forma de que se tratan las personas. Inclusión es el acto o práctica de incluir y acomodar a personas que históricamente han sido excluidos por su raza, género, sexualidad o capacidad.
Right. So going forward, hello again. My name is Carly Pence. Kind of like Daisy said, I'm the school social worker at West Oak Intermediate School. Welcome everyone to our presentation. I'm going to go ahead and start to explain a couple of these images to start us off. And if everyone feels comfortable doing so, we will invite you afterwards to respond to us in the chat. So looking at these two images, you can see the one on the left, see three different pictures. The first picture are three different people looking over the fence at this baseball game. And the first image is assume that everyone would benefit from the same support. So they all are being treated equally. They all have three different boxes. In the second image, you see that, each one is given maybe something a little bit different type of support. So the first person has no box, the second person has one box, and the third person has two boxes. They are all being treated equitably. Now in the third picture, what we can see is that all three people are able to see the game without any type of supports or accommodations because the actual fence or the barrier or the inequity was addressed and the systemic barrier has been removed. Daisy, I'm not sure if you would prefer to translate at this point or would you rather me just continue to the next picture?
Sorry. Como pueden ver aquí, estamos hablando de la igualdad contra la equidad. En la primera imagen, estamos presumiendo que las tres personas benefician por los mismos apoyos y que el trato de ellos es igualmente. En la segunda foto pueden ver que las personas les están dando diferentes apoyos o recursos y es posible para que ellos también miren el juego, entonces eso es parte de la equidad. Y en la tercera foto, en la tercera imagen pueden ver que las tres personas, tres personas sin apoyos o acomodaciones, porque las inequidades fueron abordadas, se removieron.
Right. And with this picture, it's so important, and we wanted to start off our presentation with this, like in addition to the definitions, because we really want to paint this picture that this is our goal that we want to get to. And we want to make sure that everyone is feeling like they are able to have certain barriers removed. Now, also want to really emphasize here, especially as we talk more about our children, our students at our school, how these systemic barriers, they are not attributes of students at any means. Students are actually so resilient and they have so many strengths to give. However, we want to make sure that we are able to work towards removing these types of barriers so that students can continue to be strong and resilient, but they don't need to be worrying about these types of issues.
Les voy a decir, en resumen, lo que acaba de decir la señorita Pence es que nuestra meta de nuevo es para remover esas barreras que tienen los estudiantes y recordarles que las personalidades o atribuciones que tienen los niños no totalmente es la personalidad de ellos enteramente, sino que tenemos que recordarnos que hay diferentes barreras, hay diferentes apoyos que necesitan ellos para que sean exitosos.
And looking at the second picture, we can see similar ideas, but different type of picture here. So we see that they're both two different individuals. One is a white man, one is a woman of color. They're both on these two different tracks to get to the finish line. The white man is ready to go. There's a few hurdles, but nothing else is in the way. And for the woman, we see that she's not only weighed down, but there are also all sorts of obstacles that are in her way to get to the finish line. In this, the question says, what's the matter? It's the same distance. Again, this is very much representing an idea here that there are certain barriers that individuals such as different groups of minority, but especially some of our students and our families, we want to make sure everyone are receiving the right supports that they need because it isn't a fair race.
En la mano derecha, en esa imagen, de nuevo, esto es un resumen de lo que acaba de decir la señorita Pence. Vemos un hombre blanco y una mujer de color. Los dos quieren llegar a su meta para ser exitosos, pero en la mano izquierda puede ver que no tiene tantos obstáculos como tiene la mujer de color. Nuestra meta para nuestros estudiantes y todas nuestras familias es remover esos obstáculos que tienen y para poder mejor apoyarlos para que sean lo más exitosos que puedan ser.
Right, and thank you again, Daisy, for translating. So we would like you now to take a moment to reflect. We'll give everyone within a minute here, and there's no pressure. You don't have to respond if you don't want to, of course. But to reflect on the questions, what do you think are some obstacles that students face? And what are some obstacles that you have faced? And we invite you, upon reflecting on these images and on your own experiences, if you feel comfortable to do so, to go ahead and share with us your thoughts in the chat.
Ahora les vamos a dar la oportunidad de responder en el chat. De nuevo, podemos respetar el silencio, pero ¿cuáles creen que son algunos obstáculos que enfrentan los estudiantes? Pero también, ¿cuáles son algunos obstáculos que han enfrentado ustedes? De nuevo, puede ponerlos en el chat. Ms. Pence, I was thinking that maybe I can give an example of something like that I could answer the question as well. One thing that I was just thinking about that I would say sometimes I see that impacts our students and has impacted me, that was my lived experience as well, is, I think a language barrier in a sense to opportunities, whether it be being in AP classes or wanting to join a sport or a summer camp. I would say that was, my lived experience. And I see that sometimes where parents don't know what resources or opportunities that they have because they don't speak that language. And we can talk about later just how our district's efforts, are helping with that in a sense. But I just wanted to give the participants an example of something that I thought of. Doy un ejemplo de algo sobre mi experiencia propia, pero también lo que he visto en el distrito, que algunas veces unos obstáculos pueden ser la barrera del lenguaje de nuestros padres. Algunas veces no saben las oportunidades o los recursos que tienen disponibles para los estudiantes porque a lo mejor no saben el idioma de inglés. Y al rato vamos a hablar sobre los esfuerzos que está haciendo nuestro distrito para no tener esas barreras para nuestros estudiantes y familias, pero solo quería compartir eso ahorita. So again, feel free to type anything in the chat. I think we could go on.
Sounds good. Perfect.
So why is DEI work important? It validates and acknowledges identity and differences. It allows us to break barriers and create equal opportunities to historically excluded individuals within this work. It honors the diversity of our collective experience. It understands that the social condition and experience of the person is essential. It reaffirms the humanity in all of us. It impacts staff, student identity, and community. ¿Por qué es importante este trabajo? Nos valida y reconoce la identidad y las diferencias, nos permite romper barreras y crear iguales oportunidades para personas históricamente excluidas dentro de nuestro trabajo, honra la diversidad de nuestra experiencia colectiva, entiende que la condición social y la experiencia de la persona es esencial, reafirma la humanidad en todos nosotros e impacta la identidad del personal, los estudiantes y de la comunidad.
Great. Thank you, Daisy. And now I'm going to go into more discussions about how DEI impacts students. So we want to make sure, just so parents are aware of what we're noticing, how we're addressing some of this on our end here, and also just in general to raise more awareness of how DEI can impact students. Starting with how do they feel included in the classroom? So that can include things like their items, resources, different decorations that make students feel included, such as something like from their own cultures and how are they contributing to that classroom environment. Having students of color, making sure that they're equally called on compared to white students. So for example, if a teacher is asking a question to the classroom, the number of times that he or she or they are asking these questions, they are calling on the same students equal number of times, more or less, right? Also making sure that in the classroom there are books and activities that includes students or families of color instead of only white families. It's so incredibly important to make sure that students are feeling like they are being represented when they are at school, and they are getting to see people that look like them, not just white people, and making sure all students receive appropriate additional supports. And I know, at least on my end here as social worker, especially working within our special education department, just making sure that if students, whether they're a student of color, white student, any person who needs additional supports, whether it's related to behavior concerns or academic needs, just making sure everyone is treated equally. And then also wanting to make sure that we're being aware of perceptions of student behaviors. I know that, and I'll get to it again in the next slide after this one, but just really focusing on these adult perceptions of our students. So for example, are students are they distracted? Or do they learn more through movement and verbal exercises? Are they being disrespectful? Or are they voicing their opinions and self-advocating for themselves? Or how about, are they lazy? Or are they tired or struggling with an outside situation? And are they troublemakers? I know a lot of people can use that word a lot. Or are they looking for an energy outlet and they're not sure how to communicate this? So by all means, I'm not saying that every student's an angel, right? And they never have certain behavior concerns, but just making sure on our end that we're very aware of what are our adult perceptions and how are we treating our students.
I am muted. En un resumen de lo que acaba de hablar la señorita Pence, de cómo este trabajo impacta a los estudiantes, impacta cómo se sienten incluidos en el salón de clases. Tenemos que asegurar que los artículos, los recursos, decoraciones hagan que los estudiantes se sientan incluidos. Queremos también, nuestros esfuerzos es que los estudiantes de color sean llamados por igual en comparación con los estudiantes blancos, que los libros y actividades que incluyen los estudiantes o las familias de color en lugar de solo sean los dos, en lugar de solo los estudiantes o familias blancas, todos los estudiantes reciben apoyos adicionales apropiados. Y luego también lo que acaba de hablar la trabajadora social, la señorita Pence, es de las percepciones de los comportamientos de los estudiantes. Nos preguntamos como educadores, ¿se distraen o aprenden más a través del movimiento y los ejercicios verbales? ¿Están siendo irrespetuosos o están expresando sus opiniones abogando por sí mismos? ¿Son descuidados o están cansados o pasando por una situación externa? ¿Son alborotadores o, como decimos la gente mexicana, malcriados, según alborotadores o malcriados, o están buscando una salida de energía y no están seguros de cómo comunicar?
And then also continuing more about how DEI impacts students is looking at their peer relationships. And for example, talking about things like racial slurs or bullying, which can happen throughout a variety of students. This, of course, we think stereotypically, right? Like white students against students of color. However, I've also noticed, especially during the school year, unfortunately, where we have students of color, like a friendship group, let's say we have Hispanic students, and it'll be comments made between those with lighter colored skin against those who are darker colored skin. And so it's something we really want to be, that's why it's so important we talk about diversity, right? So because it's so important that we address these concerns and all our students are feeling safe. Also wanting to make sure that students are having equal types of consequences. So, having that held accountable with the same discipline as other students and spoken to with that same tone and care as towards other students as well. And it's really important also, this is a whole bigger topic we won't go into for this session, for this parent university. However, just wanting to also bring in the importance here of that school to prison pipeline situation, wanting to make sure that we're not just resorting to punitive actions and getting our kids out of school when that's not what's going to resolve these problems, right? And there's this huge disparity between how white students and students of color are treated with this. Fortunately, we have something called SB 100, And SB 100, it technically became law in August 2015, but many still refer to it as SB 100. To give you just one sentence here about what is that and why is that important for this conversation, this law created guidelines to limit school suspensions and expulsions while encouraging proactive programs and services for students with behavioral challenges. So super important, we want to do more of what's called restorative justice work. We want to make sure we're not always using punitive action or jumping right to suspension. Instead, focusing on having those conversations with our students. Focusing on how everyone has a different perspective. What is the impact of our actions on others? Are we repairing the harm, or is this something that is just punitive? And that's also why, fortunately, it's been a huge increase in my positions in counselors, school therapists, because we want to make sure that all of our students are receiving that same equitable treatment.
¿Cómo DEI impacta a los estudiantes? Impacta las relaciones entre los compañeros. Vemos que insultos raciales pasan por variedades de estudiantes, no nada más. Son de diferentes personas. Lo que hemos visto es, si tienen la piel más blanca, si tienen la piel más morena, los insultos pasan. Y luego es bullying entre los estudiantes. También impacta la igualdad de las consecuencias. Sorry, Ms. Pence, give me 1 second. Que sean responsables con la misma disciplina que los otros estudiantes, hablando con el mismo tono y cuidado que otros estudiantes. Y luego también abordamos y queremos enfocarnos en la importancia en inglés se dice SchooltoPrison Pipeline, o el concepto de escuela a prisión, que eso es un tema de la disciplina de estudiantes. Hablamos sobre la disparidad entre estudiantes blancos y estudiantes de color, y luego hay una ley que pasó en el 2015 que es SB 100, que acaba de hablar, les voy a dar un resumen, pero eso limita la disciplina en los estudiantes y se enfoca más en los apoyos que les podemos dar en vez de las disciplinas como expulsión. Y luego ya después podemos hablar de diferentes consecuencias o el futuro de los estudiantes. Y acaba de también hablar la señorita Pence de cómo esa ley ha traído diferentes posiciones a diferentes escuelas para poder mejor apoyar y dar recursos y apoyos a los estudiantes. Hablamos sobre el trabajo de justicia restaurativa y de nuevo el aumento de trabajadores sociales en las escuelas y consejeros escolares.
Yeah, and so in order then, understanding all this, understanding that we are ever increasing our awareness at the school level and wanting to make sure, of course, in this presentation, parents are also learning more about this. We also want to, of course, provide you with more specific resources of how to support students. And this can apply at school, but also very much at home. And this is part of those resources we want to share with everyone. And of course, Daisy will also provide even more resources as we keep going. She's amazing. So starting here is you guys will all be able to click on these different links. There are a list of inclusive reading materials. And, of course, I won't go at this time in detail, but as you click on them, there's hundreds of stories that you can pick from. And there's even a list of books for young children and those who are older, up in middle school, which I think is very important that, this isn't something we just start at a certain age bracket, that this is continuing fully where students are having access to this literature. And then also looking at discussion ideas to have with your child at home. So we broke this down into 3 different parts to go with our 3 different school buildings. So looking at early childhood or grades K through 2, there's a link here recommended by one of our reading specialists for reading rockets. And this includes, again, even more books and literature that you can read about. There's also more descriptions of why is it so important that we're having these conversations and why we have access to these books. So very important that you're starting that at a young age with your children. At the intermediate level, so grades 3 through 5, where I'm at, really making sure that you're reviewing these second step lessons, which is an SEL curriculum at our district. Make sure that you're reviewing these second step lessons from school at home. And if you have any questions at all about what is Second Step? Hopefully you know, but if you do not know, please just reach out to your teachers. They are going through these lessons throughout the week. And they cover topics extremely important that relate to the basics of respect, of diversity, right? Like respect, bullying, empathy, feeling identification, etc. And then also for middle school, then for grades 6 through 8, really focusing then on, you can continue to use these other resources, of course. We will always recommend using literature as a good resource, right? And talking with your teachers about what they're also doing in the classroom. However, we're focusing more on that validation, the acknowledgement, social media, and making sure that there is like more healthy representation, healthy people that they're following. So for example, we know everyone's online, TikTok forever. You know, who are your children following? Are you aware of who? You know, it's not as much about, yes, it's about content, but at the same time, who are these people they're following? What do they represent? And making sure that as your children are having these deeper level discussions about their identities, about their race, about their family and where they come from, you know, and especially if they have certain student situations at school, just making sure that first we're hearing them, we're validating and acknowledging what they're going through. And then we're answering these questions. And then we're having that extra follow through of that social media piece. And then the last piece here is checking out our SEL website, which is created this year. Topics included in it are things like diversity, restorative justice, social emotional resources, trauma, etc. More information will definitely be coming this summer, but we want to include this so that everyone could start to read what's all these wonderful resources that are available.
Thank you, Ms. Pence. And then also whenever I do translate in Spanish, I am taking notes, but I do have a disclaimer that I'm like, this is a summary of what you said, but I appreciate all of the information that you shared.
Totally got you. Yeah.
It was great. I love it. So, ¿cómo apoyar a los estudiantes? Aquí la señorita Pence nos está compartiendo lista de materiales de lectura inclusiva. Aquí tiene los enlaces. Esta presentación es grabada, pero también la presentación estará en nuestro sitio web, donde puede hacerle clic en todos los enlaces para que pueda ver de cada nivel de grado los diferentes apoyos que tienen de lectura y cómo hablar y tener estas conversaciones y discusiones con sus hijos y entre familia. Ideas de discusión para tener con su hijo o hija de grados de kindergarten a segundo grado. Ahí está un enlace. Trabajamos con unas de las maestras de nuestra escuela de Diamond Lake, quien nos refirió esta recomendación maravillosa también para nuestros grados de tercer grado hasta quinto grado, es revisar las lecciones de segundo paso o second step, que es parte de nuestro currículo del aprendizaje socioemocional de nuestras escuelas. Y la escuela intermedia de grado 6 a 8, hablar con ellos, los estudiantes, sobre validación, reconocimiento, las redes sociales, quienes están siguiendo en TikTok. Ahorita eso es algo muy popular, y queremos la representación saludable para nuestros hijos. Y teníamos una presentación sobre redes sociales anterior, que también pueden ver, pero de nuevo esa representación saludable para ellos de una edad pequeña también es importante. Y este año tenemos nuestro sitio web de SEL, que es nuestro aprendizaje social emocional, que los temas incluyen la diversidad, la justicia restaurativa, recursos socioemocionales de trauma y más.
So thank you, Daisy. And so now we're going more also into how DEI impacts parents. Because as much as, of course, always about our children, always want to make sure that they're feeling safe and supported and heard and validated. We also want to make sure that everyone is feeling like they are being heard and everyone is feeling they are receiving the supports that they need. So starting point here, how parents feel when you're speaking with our school staff. You know, do you feel respected? Can you feel and see that you are being given the same opportunity as others? Do you feel like when you're having school meetings or you're receiving resources, do you feel like there's fairness? And I know that we've been sending a lot of reminders out for our most recent parent engagement survey for this school year. And this is why it's so important. We've probably sent a million emails out because we really want to hear from you. And, just putting this out there, if for some reason you feel like you weren't heard or didn't feel comfortable, you weren't sure, okay, this is a time and place to communicate that I'm not feeling respected or heard, please just let us know and communicate with anyone who you trust at the school. And if you're not sure who, you can talk to us. We're here for you, okay? And then also wanting to bring attention to microaggressions. What are microaggressions? So they are defined, I'm reading off more of a definition here. They are defined as the everyday, subtle, intentional, and oftentimes unintentional interactions or behaviors that communicate some sort of bias toward historically marginalized groups. So that's a lot of words there. So essentially, those are interactions that you could be hearing as adults, as parents, from all sorts of people, right? Within our world, within our community, our city. And some examples could be, you are so articulate, or where are you from? What is that accent? That's impressive, you went to college. Or are you going to find a better job? And so these are also phrases that the reason we want to bring attention to this is because, not everyone is always thinking, oh yeah, why am I feeling so uncomfortable? Or why do I feel disrespected? And we want to make sure that you're aware this is totally valid. And again, if you ever feel like you're not, this is something you're receiving, especially on our end as a district, so please let us know, because we always want to make sure that you're feeling safe and supported. And then going after this, I know Daisy will give so much more information about the community end here, but looking more at treatment from our community, do our families know where to go for help? Such as Mundelein United Community Cares Group consists of village members, Mundelein Police Department, the Chapel Mundelein, local business owners, and just making sure that you are receiving the adequate amount of resources, which I know Daisy is a superstar at sharing everything out, connecting, and she's now going to give even more information about that after this next slide.
Thank you, Ms. Pence. Y ahora hablamos sobre cómo DEI, ese trabajo, impacta a los padres. ¿Cómo se sienten ustedes, los padres, cuando hablan con el personal de la escuela? Eso es algo muy importante para nosotros también. ¿Se sienten respetados cuando entran a las escuelas o tienen conversaciones con nuestro personal? Los padres pueden sentir y ver que les brindan las mismas oportunidades que a los demás, es decir, personas de color en comparaciones con personas blancas, equidad en las reuniones escolares y recursos. También nuestro distrito hace encuesta de participación de los padres, y eso también nos da la oportunidad para oír y escuchar de ustedes si en verdad se están sintiendo que son bienvenidos, que sus voces son válidas, que se sienten respetados y evaluados. El próximo tema también son microaggressions o microagresiones. Una definición que dio la señorita Pence son comentarios que son a lo mejor que son intencionales o no intencionales, pero que crean una agresión sobre personas que están excluidas históricamente, por decir, eres tan elocuente, es impresionante que hayas ido a la universidad, y comentarios así. Y luego también es importante para nosotros el trato de la comunidad. En Distrito 76 nos preguntamos, ¿nuestras familias saben dónde ir para recibir ayuda? Y en el próximo slide pueden ver los diferentes apoyos que tenemos y que nuestro distrito es parte para los apoyos para nuestros padres.
Perfect. And really quick, Daisy, I'm not sure where you're going to respond now or later, but it looks like Diane Strauss, she had raised her hand.
I did not see a question in the chat. I did see a comment that said, thank you for the information. Feel free to type questions in the chat. There is, we do have a Q&A session at the end as well. So
Perfect.
feel free. So DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, it impacts community. At District 76, we do strive to align this with our mission, district mission, vision, and goals. Our priority at the district is one of our priorities within our mission, vision, and goals is to communicate to all stakeholders in a purposeful and meaningful manner by increasing access to resource and supporting the social emotional well-being of our families. And here I just shared at least for my department, the established partnerships that I think are very valuable, very important and crucial to the DEI work, and just sharing that out district-wide in both languages, but advocating for all, because we're also understanding that Mundelein also has a Polish-speaking population. And my colleagues at District 75 help me with that as well when those parents reach out. But these established partnerships are so important. Especially coming in with this position when the pandemic hit, we partnered with Northern Illinois Food Bank, District 75's parent coordinator, District 120's community and equity coordinator, the high school's Black Student Union, the Chapel Mundelein, who's helped tremendously as well, the Park District. We have established partnerships with College of Lake County, who have done presentations, and we reach out to whenever our parents need it as well. The Dare to Dream Get Educated organization for our middle school girls, the Lake County Sheriff's Office, the Mundelein Police Department. I don't know, I did name them there. Mano a Mano, who has been been doing amazing work within Lake County and helping our parents in the Mundelein community as well. Mundelein United, which is an advisory and leadership group, which consists of community leaders and local business owners. And we are able to share our initiatives and projects with them, and they're able to learn what we're doing. And they help us bring resources for free to all of our families. And then we also have the Welcome Center, which provides free food, free clothing for those in need within our own community, but we've opened it to others as well. And then DEI impacta nuestra comunidad. Nuestra prioridad, una de nuestras prioridades y objetivos de nuestro distrito es comunicar con todas las partes interesadas de manera útil y significativa por aumentar el acceso a los recursos y apoyar el bienestar socioemocionalmente de nuestras familias. Y aquí nada más quise dar un ejemplo de las colaboraciones que hemos establecido en el Distrito 76 para poder traerles esos recursos para nuestros padres. Aquí puede verlos todos listados. Nos han podido, eso nos hace muy exitosos en traerle los apoyos y recursos gratis a las familias más necesitadas. Tenemos relaciones con Northern Illinois Food Bank, Distrito 120 y 75, el Park District, the Chapel in Mundelein, con el colegio, con la organización de Dare to Dream para nuestras estudiantes que están en el 8º grado, el Departamento de Policía de Mundelein, con Mano a Mano, que referimos a muchas de nuestras familias. Y algo muy importante que no listé aquí, pero también nuestra comité de padres bilingües, our BPAC committee, I did not list them there, but they've also just played the biggest role. Nuestra comité de padres bilingües también, nuestros padres voluntarios nos ayudan mucho en identificar las personas y estudiantes también que necesitan esas ayudas y apoyos. Our BPAC as well, they are really out there in the community and just come back and let us know those identified families in need so that we're able to continue to provide them with these free resources. And then again, just wanted to give you some more examples how D76 addresses DEI as well, just by bringing different opportunities, different clubs at all grade levels, at all buildings for all of our students and our families. Club Coexist, Black Student Union, Girls on the Run, cultural events, PD for staff with DEI topics, very invested in the SEL committee, Social Emotional Learning Committee, which is district-wide. We translate all communications for our board meetings, all of our presentations, our coffee with principals, just so that our families know that they're able to join. And again, we're understanding our demographic that we serve. Parent University nights, the free resources to our families in need, and then restorative conversations to increase understanding of the actions and impacts with one another. And here are just some pictures that we just wanted to share with you guys. ¿Cómo aborda el Distrito 76 este trabajo? Tenemos diferentes clubs de diferentes grados. Tenemos el Club Coexist, nuestra Unión de Estudiantes Afroamericanos en la escuela secundaria, Girls on the Run, nuestros eventos culturales, desarrollo profesional para nuestras maestras y maestros, todo nuestro personal, perdón, y las comunicaciones de parte del distrito, nuestras reuniones de nuestra mesa directiva, las presentaciones y comunicación, todo está en inglés y en español, los recursos para las familias más necesitadas y las noches de universidad de padres como hoy. Pero aquí hay unas fotos de cómo aborda el DEI, el Distrito 76. Okay, we have a question. Let me see. I will read it in English and Spanish. Is there discussion amongst other districts too? As kids grow up and start joining sports and activities, they'll start playing with students in other regions. I would hope they are keeping the topic of diversity and inclusion on top of mind. I am going to answer that and say, yes, there is discussion amongst other districts, at least from my state level that I know, we have that Mundelein United group, and that is Mundelein leaders. However, then there was this cohort that I was a part of with Mano a Mano that just brought Lake County leaders together. And it brings us together so that we're able to share different initiatives of what we're each doing in each school district. What is your district? What is your organization? What is your company doing to promote DEI work or to create equitable spaces? I'm able to share what we're doing as a part of District 76. They're learning from us. And we're just sharing those resources and really building community. So there definitely are those discussions with other school districts that happen. Una de las preguntas era si hay discusión con otros distritos. De parte de mi departamento, sí, me reúno mucho con diferentes distritos, diferentes agencias y organizaciones, líderes comunitarios para hablar sobre los iniciativos y los proyectos que estamos haciendo en el Distrito 76 para abordar la equidad. Y luego ellos aprenden de las cosas que estamos haciendo nosotros y luego nosotros aprendemos también de parte de ellos, las agencias, para seguir esas colaboracionciones y traer esos recursos que caen dentro de nuestra meta de nuestro distrito. I love all of these events. I've been to a few. Is there a communication strategy to make sure students and parents are aware of upcoming events? I would love to be a part of some. Yes, we share everything district-wide to all of our families, depending on what we're sharing. Sometimes we do at building level, but most of the time, if it's something district-wide like this, it is shared to all of our families. It's also posted on our social media page. Mr. Hansen is amazing at updating that all the time, at tweeting from our Diamond Lake Twitter page, our Facebook page, our Instagram page. And yeah, so feel free to give us a like on Facebook, and we're always updating and sharing different initiatives and projects that we have. Una de las preguntas, me encanta todos estos eventos. Hay una estrategia de comunicación para asegurar que los estudiantes y los padres sepan de los eventos. Queríamos ser parte de algunos. Y la respuesta es que sí, todas las comunicaciones las compartimos con todo nuestro distrito, pero también tenemos la presentación en Facebook, en Twitter, en Instagram, YouTube. So, sí, nos pueden seguir ahí para actualizaciones. So there is a short survey now. It's 3 questions long, so it's 3 questions short, so it's not that long. And this is just an opportunity for us, Ms. Pence and I, but I know as part of the district of this Parent University initiative, is this something useful? We hope you learned something today. There was a takeaway. We enjoy sharing this information of what we do day to day. So feel free to take a picture on your smartphone or follow that link. And again, this presentation will be on our website under Parents and Community, Parent University. The presentation will be there. The video should be up there by no later than tomorrow. Esta es una encuesta de 3 preguntas. Puede tomar una foto con su teléfono. Y esto nada más nos ayuda ver si esta información fue útil, si aprendieron algo. Nos encanta compartir nuestras estrategias y iniciativas y los proyectos que hacemos todos los días en el Distrito 76 con ustedes. So queremos escuchar de ustedes también. Ms. Pence, did you want to share anything else before we closed out for the night?
No, I think we've given this a lot of information. I don't want to give so much, to overwhelm anyone. So on my end, there's nothing else at this time. But I do just want to encourage everyone and invite them, for those attending, if you do have any other questions for us, we'll still be on for a little bit longer. And, we're very happy to answer anything you have. And also just to remind everyone that we are definitely safe people to come talk to if you ever have these types of questions, especially if you're not sure within your own building of who to go to. So thank you. We're so grateful and appreciative that you attended our training tonight.
I don't see anything coming in. Thank you both. This was great. Muchas gracias a las dos. Esto fue excelente. Thank you so much. Genuinely, thank you for joining. Thank you, ladies, for all of your hard work. Thank you. Thank you, all of our educators that were on as well. This work, it is a collaborative effort, and that is one thing I love about our district. All right, Ms. Pence, I think we're good. All right, everybody have a great night. Thank you guys all for joining us. Buenas noches.